Sit. Sit.
Sit.
Good boy.
We met through mutual friends. We actually met at a pool party in Miami Beach during Miami Music Week. So I actually was not interested in Hans at all. I thought that, I honestly didn't really know what to think about him, but he had mojito pictures.
As long as you're being honest, I was going to literally say that I had mojitos and.
So I decided to become his friend because he was holding a mojito pitcher. And honestly, if you know Hans, you know that he talks a lot. So he pretty much did all the talking, and I was just standing there with my mojito, just nodding my head like.
That's
and
fair.
I don't even remember half of the things you said.
Because of the mojitos?
Because of the mojitos, and because you talk a lot, both.
All right, cool. Well, we were at a pool party, so hot girl spring, I guess.
Hot girl summer.
Hot girl summer. Well, springtime because it's March,
hot spring, summer.
But honestly, she was actually beautiful and met through mutual friends, and I guess I had mojitos, so that brought her over, and she let me talk. So you know,
she let me.
She let me. It all worked out.
So there are a couple things that I really love about Hans, and one of them is how much he pushes me to be a better person. He also is a great cook, and so my love language is food, and really good food. So every night I have the pleasure of having a home-cooked meal from Hans, so my own personal chef. And now I have my own personal chef for the rest of my life.
Yeah, pretty much.
I would say it moved pretty quickly. So I would say like 6 weeks. We were hanging out every single day from the moment that we met, and we instantly clicked. So every day it was him pretty much calling me up and saying, "What are you doing? Come over, let's go to dinner, let's go watch a movie, let's go try out this new lounge, let's go try out this new space in Miami." And I was always down with it. So it did move pretty quickly, I would say. So I had been experiencing BV for 3.5 years before I met Hans, like 3.5 to 4 years before I met Hans. I had BV with a previous partner. I also had BV when I wasn't dating anyone. And it was something that I dealt with on and off for 3.5 to 4 years, seeing different doctors, and just kind of managing it on my own with ways that I had kind of realized worked for me, but for short-term periods of time. So it didn't happen right away. I definitely was feeling out who Hans was, what type of person he was, and once we started being intimate, we were obviously using protection, and it wasn't until there was a case where my BV came back and it was really bad, and I was kind of putting sex off, and I was kind of putting off things that, you know, we would normally do, like go to the beach or go to the gym or things like that with him. And it was because I knew that it was back, and I knew that I would have to bring this up to him because he kind of knew me really well at that point. So if I was kind of acting strange, he would have kind of noticed that. So probably 2 months into the relationship, I think it's when I brought it up.
Okay. Well, you didn't really, and I do need to point out, you didn't really bring it up to the point where it's like, we need to talk about this, but it was more forced out of you because of the fact that, like, you know, talking about those things are so difficult, and it was kind of like more forced out than anything, because obviously me being like, oh, why doesn't she want to get intimate? What's going on? That actually forced the conversation to kind of go out. So she had to be very vulnerable because of it in order to have that conversation.
I was trying to hide it. I was trying to act normal. But if everybody here that's listening to this video has been intimate, so, you know, when things are getting heated and you're in the moment, you kind of just have to like stop and and it's random because usually it continues, but when it stops, it's like either that person is like, is there something wrong with me? Is there something wrong with her? And it kind of puts you in an awkward position where you just kind of don't even know where to take, you know, that situation into. You don't know what direction to take it into.
He wants to sit with us. God, what were we, like 26,
I was-
27, 23, and
Yeah, I was
24?
23.
So you're at an age in which, you know, sexual tension is really high. You just want to go out. You want to do all these things. I really liked Daniela from the first time that I met her. And so, you know, even just 2-3 months going into it, and then from there, it just being these random times of, no, stop, we can't do this, things like that. And then, you know, you really get the feeling as to, is something wrong with me? Is she doing things that she's not telling me about? You know, obviously that mindset, and this happens with a lot of partners, and why, you know, the person who's facing it doesn't want to deal with it. The questions of, you know, cheating, the questions of being dirty, all those things that we think about when we're young, those come into play and come to mind. So obviously it was one of those things that was, one, a tough conversation to have, but also a crucial conversation we had to have the conversation going. But thankfully, you know, it didn't actually get to that point for us. So it wasn't, I mean,
Yeah.
it was more of like a challenge, at least.
Well,
when you get into that
I
in a
think
sec.
that it was, I think as I got to know you, I saw that you were a very understanding person, and you like to communicate. Like, you really like that. And from previous partners that I had, they did not like communication. So I was kind of at this, you know, at this point where I was like, do I say something? Do I not say something? And just, I think feeling out the whole situation was what I was really thinking about, was how is this person going to react? Because it's all about like the reaction, and you always think the worst. How is this person going to react if I tell them that I'm going through this I have this vaginal health issue, and I don't even really know what it is?
No, not in the case of you know, yeast infections, bacterial vaginosis, UTIs. None of those kinds of conversations ever. It was this. I was aware of what it was, but I was new as a circumstance, I guess, for me personally.
No, not to the extent that I did with Hans.
Obviously, not to the extent, because
Well,
we built a company.
No, because before that, I had, you know, with my previous relationships, like if I had a UTI, or, you know, something was like hurting, I would say, hey, I think it was just more common to say UTI than, you know, BV. So they understood what a UTI was, but anything else, it just kind of went over their head, and they had no idea what I was talking about.
I think we were also just like in a new phase of our life where you're just right outside of college, right outside of school.
Yeah, we were so young.
And that taboo and that I guess social norm, which, you know, it's being fought against right now, but that, you know, if a woman has something like this, it means that she could be dirty. It means that she could be sleeping around with a lot of people, and that's not the case from what we've learned. So I think that bringing that up at, you know, 23, 24, it's still very young, it's still very new and fresh, so it's a challenge. Let's be real. No, I pulled it out.
There was no prep, but I could tell you that it was a day that we were at his house, and yes, Hans probed at it, and then finally got it out of me, because he was just like, you know, what's going on? You kind of seem a little different. You kind of seem a little distant at times. And then I was like, look, it has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with our entire relationship. It has to do with me. Like, it's not you, it's me. And that's when I told him, have you ever heard of BV? And then, I don't remember, did you say yes or no?
No, but I got into like this like competitive research mode, and I just started learning what I could about it. So
yeah, like I mentioned to him the things that I had learned, and then he was like, okay, well, thank you for letting me know. I'm now gonna
Wow,
do
that's
my
so like
research.
receptive. I didn't do. Oh, thank
yeah,
you.
not like thank you for letting me know, but like I appreciate you opening up to me and telling me what you're going through.
It
because
made
that's a
it
very
more
difficult thing to
understanding.
do.
It made it more understanding of like, okay, so this is why she's acting this way,
Right.
and that allowed us to move forward. It really did.
So I think it definitely made it a lot more comfortable for me to open up, because I'm just not a confrontational type of person, and I probably, if he wouldn't have mentioned anything, I probably would have prolonged it a bit more until I felt a bit more comfortable enough to open up to him about it.
The biggest, and I'm sorry for interrupting, but the biggest challenge there is that the partner is willing to go to those lengths to try to pull it out. And with something like this, which obviously, you know, takes up a lot of your mental energy, your clarity, we've spoken about confidence before. For something so important as that, you should, you know, not fear the the repercussions of bringing it out. If you have truly a partner that loves you, can be empathetic, can understand where you're coming from, then that person will be understanding and be able to continue with the conversation. It can't be something that you just hold into yourself, which you've worked on very well, just the confrontation
But
issue.
also it showed me what type of partner you would be in the long run. Like I realized in that moment that this is a person that I could be going through, you know, something worse than BV. And you're gonna be there with me through thick and thin.
We can start another company for whatever
through
that
thick and
thing
thin,
is.
and we're gonna figure it out together. And you know, that made me feel very comfortable and honestly made me more attracted to you.
Aw, appreciate it. Next time that we get into an argument, I'm gonna make sure to pull this one out so that you can.
Oh my
be
god!
like,
Now he's gonna hold it against me.
remember. Oh, she did everything exactly the way that you would expect somebody to do it. In fact, I was actually impressed that she kind of, in a way, trusted me enough to go down the path of doing scientific research and doing all these things to figure out, okay, but you know, what is it? And you know, that's not something that I would have expected from a lot of people to say, all right, I'm gonna read some kind of scientific journal so I understand what this is, where it came from, and you know, so no, I wouldn't expect, you know, you did a lot to like that things I didn't have to do, like the vitamin C, you know. You did a lot of things. We'll get into that, but you did a lot of things that me as a man, I just didn't need to do.
Yeah, you couldn't.
So I'm fortunate to be in the position.
And we're talking about experiments past the conversation that we had when he was doing his research, and then trying different things to help with the BV. So one of them was putting up a vitamin C tablet, which he was like, I read this study, and so then I read it too, and I read this forum where women were talking about inserting vitamin C tablets. So we went to Vitamin Shop, we bought the vitamin C tablets, and it was on the way to my mom's birthday party. So
you want to get really personal. You just want to go, all right, cool.
Yeah,
let's
do it. So we go to my mom's birthday party, I go into the bathroom, put up the vitamin C tablet. 20 minutes later, kid you not, I go up to Hans, I'm like, we have to leave right now. We have to leave right now. Because my vagina was on fire. So don't try this at home, guys. But I had to leave my mom's birthday party because of one of the, you know, DIY home remedies that you find online. And so I do not recommend that.
So just going back to that original question, do I expect any? No. What else could I expect? She was understanding that I came from a place that was supportive. She recognized the experience and expertise I have in the world that we're working in right now, and she trusted me. So I mean, what else can I ask from her?
So the advice that I would give is don't feel pressured or rushed into saying anything to this partner unless you're gonna get intimate. And let's say you don't even have a scenario where you have BV in that time that you're having sex with this person. But I would think about it, and I would think about how am I going to approach this person and also you have to feel very comfortable talking to this person. I would also advise maybe practicing this conversation with a friend. I know I didn't do this, but maybe talking to a really close friend of yours, your sister, your mom, and practicing on them and seeing how they would respond, because one of the things that held me back was the response. Like, what kind of response am I going to get from this person? And we always think the worst, which is not a bad thing, because usually that's not the response that you're going to get. But just keep in mind that this person might not be receptive to the information that you're giving them. And then the other thing is that if that person doesn't respond the way that you want them to, it kind of shows you what that person would be like in a long-term relationship, and if you really want to be with that person long-term or not. So it's kind of like a blessing in disguise.
So when it comes to the role of the partner, it has to be to embrace what the situation is and support your partner to the best of your ability, and just be completely understanding in the situation that he or she or they, whoever is in, right? Then from there, which I think is really important, we've looked at this data so many times. There's 21 million women per year in the United States alone that get bacterial vaginosis. There's something like another 9 million that get yeast infections, and then another 3 or 4 that get UTIs. This is very common, right? If you have a mother, you have most likely have a sister, a cousin, a best friend, a loved one that has gone through this before. So I mean, it's one of those first slogans that we had, which was, "You're not alone, you never were," and that person is not the only person dealing with this. I mean, just millions of people deal with this day in and day out. So it's nothing strange. Just remember that what your role is to support that person to the best of your ability. Remember that other people have gone through this before, and there's ways to address it, and just move forward both together. That's the best thing you can possibly do.
Yeah, to add to Hans's point, being supportive is so helpful for that other person, because you're making them comfortable, you're helping them realize that you guys can work through this together, and that is key in any relationship, is that you can work through things and that you can work through things together. One of the best things about creating Happy V is that we've formed this community where we want to have these conversations, either Hans and I talking about our experience, but also you guys sharing your experience with us, or you guys sending in your messages or questions to us, and we're going to help you in the best way that we can. Because we also want to support you. We know you have your own life and you have your partner, but as a brand that is trying to help women with bacterial vaginosis, yeast infections, and UTIs, we also want you to know that you have our support.
Yeah, anything we can do to help you guys, we're more than happy to. That's why we're here for. All right, cool.
Yay.
Whoa.
Miles, we did it!
Cool?